Afternoon. I know you spoke about signing Solanke on Saturday after the game, but he trained Wednesday and you can do all of the due diligence in the world. There's nothing like seeing him out there and seeing how he reacts to what you've got to say. How's it been and how well is he adapting, and I guess is he ready for Monday?
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, thankfully, it's what we expected. You know, he's a top pro, good guy. Sort of settled into the dressing room really well. Yeah, footballing wise, yeah, you can see that he has the attributes that kind of fit in with what we're trying to do. There's still an adjustment period there, obviously, because we play a little bit differently, we train differently, and we've seen that with every new signing that comes in. But so far he's. He's fit in really well with the group and with training, and we've still got a couple of sessions to go, but so far so good.
Good to go on Monday? Will it be good to go on Monday?
Yeah, it should be, yeah.
When I was looking back at the notes from the eve of last season and I said to you, what are your hopes? Where are you at with this team? You said, all I want to do is just get enough players out on the pitch. If we roll through 12 months, how different does the eve of this season feel? And with it, what demands are you now putting on the players? Many of them are your players now, and the expectations that it all brings.
Yeah, I mean, they're always my players. From the day I took over, they're all my players. Look, it's been a different pre-season, fair to say. I think we feel a lot more settled and I think better prepared for what's ahead. I mean, last year, sort of this time, there was still a lot of unknowns for us. And having said all that, it didn't stop us having a great start to the season. So, it's kind of one of these things where, just because, we're more settled, better prepared doesn't guarantee anything. We still got to go out there and produce. But, we've had a really, sort of, like I said, solid pre-season. For the most part, everyone's sort of contributed to that. Obviously, we've got some guys in late last week and guys who are just sort of coming back from long-term injuries, Destiny, Richie, Fraser Foster. But I think this last sort of 7 days that we've had everyone in, you can see that the level of training has gone up again from what it was in pre-season and on tour. And, that's really created a really good sort of environment for us. And, like I said, we've still got a couple of sessions to go, but pleasing thing is that pretty much everyone on the list is available. And that's going to be important for us. I mean, obviously, right until the international break, we kind of know the fixtures, but after that, Europe starts, Carabao Cup, we're going to have a lot of games, so we're going to need a strong squad. So the next sort of 3 weeks still gives us some time to put some work into guys to get them ready.
And just finally, unfortunate headlines from one of your players this week in Yves Bissouma. He called it a severe lack of judgment. What was your take on the situation, and is there a little bit of a sense of disappointment because these are one of the players that you want to step up and lead, this season?
Yeah, look, again, I've been in the game for a long time, and every time situations like this arise, and they do happen, I think I've always tried to sort of look at them in a couple of different ways. One is there's a person involved, and in this case it's Biss, and he's made a really poor decision. And you want to understand that, and you want to try and help him through that. And as a club, what we can do to make sure he doesn't make those kind of choices and decisions in the future. Within that context, there's still sanctions that are involved, and some of those sanctions include education and giving him a clearer understanding of why he did what he did was how wrong it was, and hopefully through that he comes out of it. You always want to give people an opportunity to kind of learn from their mistakes. The second part of that, he's also a footballer. He's a footballer of this club. He has responsibilities. He has responsibility to the club. He has responsibility to his teammates. He has responsibility to our supporters, everyone associated with the club, and he's failed in those duties, so there's got to be sanctions to that. So, he won't be available for Monday. We've suspended him for Monday's game, but beyond that, there's also some trust building that needs to happen between Biss and me and Biss and the group. And that's what he needs to work hard at from now on to try and win that back. And that's got nothing to do with just one game he may be suspended for one game, but you know he's going to have to earn that, and hopefully, like I said, you know, the door is open for him, and hopefully we can help him to realise that, you know, the decisions he makes impacts more than just him, and as I said, hopefully he allows him to make better decisions moving forward.
Alex.
Hey, Ange.
Hey.
Fifth last season, obviously a very good season, but we know you want more. Have you set yourself a target for this season?
I go into every season with the same kind of target of trying to be successful. Starting point for us is, I guess, improvement in our football, improvement in the consistency of our football. As you said, we had a decent season last year. We certainly, you know, improved on the season before just on results alone. But obviously we changed the football, and yeah, we had some really good moments, some moments when you know, we had to work really hard to get results, and you know, probably the back end of the season was pretty disappointing for us. So there's a lot in there, but for us, if we can get improvement on that and more consistency, I think gives us an opportunity to and a platform to try and achieve something, which is, you know, what you're going to every season trying to do.
Leicester, away from home Monday to start the season. Did you see much of them last season, and what kind of game are you expecting?
Yeah, I saw a fair bit of them. You know, Enzo did a fantastic job with them. I kind of knew he'd sort of get them playing a you know, fairly you know, attractive kind of football, so you always kind of look to those kind of teams anyway, and I thought, you know, they did really well to bounce back, straight back up. Strong team. Obviously, they've had a change of manager now, and Coops is in, and yeah, Coops is a good guy. I've got to know him, you know, over the last couple of years. You know, top manager, and always difficult when, you know, you lose your job, but I knew he'd come back at some point. And I think it's a really good fit with him and Leicester. He knows what the Premier League's all about, and I think when you play a promoted side in the opening round of the season at their place, it isn't going to be an easy game. You know, the crowd will be up for it. I'm sure there'll be plenty of excitement for them being back in the Premier League. So it's going to be you know, a tough test for us. But at the same time, we saw last year how important it is to try and get off to a positive start in the Premier League, and you know, that's what we're going to be trying to do.
Harry Winks on the opposing team. He was one of the first players to move on last season. Is he a good example of the tough decisions you have to make here?
Yeah, yeah. To be fair to Harry, I think that decision was kind of made, you know, before I got here. But I think I said last week, it's part of the process of change. It's not a reflection of, you know, the quality of a footballer because he doesn't fit in at a certain point. But there was no point, like I said, me coming in and sort of tinkering around the edges. I think we had to make significant change. That's what the club wanted, and that's what I've done. It's meant, you know, the squad's changed fairly dramatically from, you know, sort of 12, 13 months ago. But you know, that's the reason I came in, and at the same time, it hasn't. I don't think it's diminished Harry's career. He's back in the Premier League. He had a fantastic season last year. He's an outstanding footballer, and again, like these decisions, like I said, they're not always, probably often, the reflection of a player's ability. It's just timing of things and things moving on. Thank you.
Hi, Ange, how are you?
I'm good, mate.
So your second season, what was the biggest thing that you learnt last season that will change Spurs' fortunes for this season?
Didn't really sort of look at it that way. I think the biggest thing for us is that I think we laid a decent platform and foundation for the team we want to be. I think, you know, I was appointed after a disappointing season, but it wasn't just the results that, you know, the club wanted to change. It wanted to change the way it played its football. So I think we endeavoured to do that. I think we kind of changed the course of the way we play. So that's given us a platform now to hopefully improve on that. And if we improve on what we did last year, as I said, it gives us a chance to have some success.
I think VAR will be a big talking point again this season. You were out at the Euros doing your punditry work. In terms of what you saw with the semi-automated offsides working, what is your view on that? It seems that we're not going to get the in-stadium miking up of the referees. Is that a backward step for you, or are you glad we're not hearing from them?
Look, I mean, we've had meetings with the Premier League, and they've come out as well, and they've sort of spoken about the changes, and I think I welcome those changes. I mean, for me, the key thing is the less disruption we have to the game, the better. That's always kind of been my biggest gripe around VAR has been it materially changed the game with not a great deal of benefit, in my opinion, in terms of decisions, because there was still conjecture around even those decisions. But I think that the changes they're looking to make are positive ones. I think the semi-automated will help because it helps speed up the process of those decisions. They're looking for less intrusion from VAR, which again, I'd much rather leave it in the hands of the referee most of the time, the majority of the time, apart from exceptional circumstances. So I think with VAR, it's here to stay, and whether I like it or not, the reality of it is now is an opportunity to improve that process. I think whenever you bring in something new, there's an opportunity to improve, and I embrace that, and I guess I need to temper my comments a little bit because I've gone pretty hard on VAR, but I kind of also understand that that's an extension of the officials, and I've always been big on not criticising officials, so I've got to sort of also, have a think about the way I kind of talk about VAR now, because it is an extension of us abiding by the rules, but I'm hoping that the changes are positive, because as I said, my sort of core sort of belief around that, it was I don't want the game to change. I still want joy around goals. I want less interruptions, less disruptions, so that we can love what we love about the game.
And finally, looks like one of your predecessors is going to be going from club football to international football. Mauricio Pochettino looks like he's going to be named the manager of the United States. You've done international football and club football. What are the differences, and is it what are the frustrations, or is it just the same job, but you see your players less and you get less time to work with those players?
Yeah, no, it's a different job. It's a different role, different skill set. It has. I think I've mentioned before, international football is, when you're together, everything's really intense. The highs are high, the lows are lows, because every win means you get closer to doing something special. Every loss usually means the end of a tournament. So so it's a different experience. But I've loved that I have experienced that, and I'm sure if that happens, that Poch will. I mean, the US, they're emerging as a nation, and I think they want to take the next step where they can make an impact at a World Cup, and there's definitely talent there, so I'm sure you'll enjoy it.
Hi, and I was just listening to what you were saying, and you were saying that you feel very settled going into the new season, and the pre-season was positive. I just wanted to sort of go into that a bit more and say, what are you looking for from the end of the transfer window? Will that be an unsettling factor, or do you think it might be an exciting end for Tottenham?
Yeah, look, I think while it's open, there's always kind of a little bit of uncertainty about, because there's so many moving parts to it. It's not just there's outgoings, incoming. I mean, but as opposed to last year where there was a lot more moving parts, you're kind of you're working within a sort of smaller spectrum of uncertainties. Certainly for me, anyway, that I can sort of plan for the season knowing that there's the bulk of the work's been done, and whatever sort of we get from here on in is not going to disrupt us too much, both incoming and outgoing. So from that perspective, I think I said after the weekend I still expect there'll be activity, but I think the uncertainty factor is a lot less than last year.
Was that a change when Dominic came in? That was like a major piece that you've added in, and do you expect any more major pieces in of that sort of level? I said last week I don't like speculating around this stuff, but Dom was important, because it was even though it was settled, it was a tricky pre-season for us because we had the majority of sort of our back four missing, and we didn't have a striker because Richie was injured as well. We only had young Will, so when you don't have sort of those key elements of you're trying to build a team. So I thought we sort of managed that really well, but I was super pleased to obviously get Dom back, and that's coincided with Richie coming back. So from that perspective, it does give us a little bit more of a settled look, what the team's going to look like moving forward.
but as I said, there's still, at least 2 press conferences before the window shuts, mate. So we'll still be talking. That's how I count them, by the way.
You mentioned Richie there. How is he, and how are the injuries in general? You kind of leading on from that.
Yeah, Richie's good. Obviously, he hasn't played at all, so that's the match minutes. We're going to have to try and get that into him over the next few weeks. But he's trained fully. He doesn't feel any effects of the injury, which is really positive for us. And as I said, everyone else is in a really good place. Obviously a few of the guys came in later last week, but even those guys, I think it's probably benefiting us playing on Monday. Still another couple of sessions. We had a really sort of strong session today for a Thursday. If we were playing Saturday, nowhere near as strong as we did, so we could put some really meaningful work into the guys today. So I think having the Monday game helps us so that, I think most of our guys should be in decent shape come Monday.
Ali, please.
Hi, Ange. I want to ask you about Archie Gray. You've used him in so many different positions because he's so versatile. I think centre-back, right-back, number 6. Is he a candidate with Biss out on Monday as a potential number 6 for you this early in his Spurs career, or is something he's got to work towards?
Yeah, no, he's Archie's he's settled in really well, and again, great kid, but really sort of strong mindset. I guess we've asked him to play different positions, but he's handled it really well. And part of the attraction of bringing somebody like Archie to our club was, and that's for a number of players we brought in, is that he can play, more than one position, so that when required we can use him in those areas. But he's going really well. Really happy with him, and he's every chance to play on Monday.
Emerson's left the club now. Can I just get a few words from you on him?
Yeah, Emmy, super guy, great pro again, and it's one of those decisions, like I said, you have to make when you're kind of trying to change squads. But really popular amongst the group. Not just because he's a great guy, but he just he didn't play a lot last year, sort of probably in his preferred position, and but you wouldn't know it the way he trained every day. He was the hardest worker at training, and like I said, a really, really top guy. He's a guy you'd want to spend time with, and big heart, loved by all, and I think it's a fantastic move for him. He'll love Milan. It's a big club he's gone to, and again, it's one of those, like I said, things that happen in a sort of in football where it's not really a kind of aspersion on him that he's not part of this. It's just that other things aligned, and I think it's a win for him and allows us to sort of continue rebuilding the squad the way I want.
Just quickly on your squad, you've got to register a squad obviously for the Premier League and the Europa League. I think it's in a couple of weeks' time. With the Europa League one especially, it seems to be more difficult, various permutations. Is that something that kind of plays on your mind slightly now in terms of which players you can bring in, which you need to keep, or is it something you just think, I'll deal with that when I cross it?
I think you spend a far more time trying to work that out than I do, mate. I think we'll be fine. We'll have enough players to play. So I guess, look, with those things, I just think if you get caught up in numbers, then the idea is to have a strong enough squad to compete in everything we want to, and you do have to balance that off. But I think with the squad we have at the moment and the kind of the balance of what we're trying to do, I still think we're in a good place to be able to kind of field a strong team and abide by the guidelines.
Okay, we'll go James and then finish this section with George, please.
Hi, Ange. Just one from me, just back on Basuma, if I can. You said that he needs to rebuild trust with you and with the group. How does he go about doing that?
Behaviour, mate. It's quite simple. It's just him, like I said, making better choices moving forward, and behaviour. He's obviously disappointed, and he's very apologetic, not just to me, to the club, to everyone involved. But that's just the first part of the process. The next part is behaviour now. Of making sure that, like I said, he does the things he needs to do to, like for all of us, if we all make mistakes. It's it's how you kind of find your way back from those mistakes, and what you do is far more important than what you say.
Thank you.
Finish with George, please.
I had Rodrigo Bentancur also had a bit of a difficult summer off the field, but he seems to be over those injuries now. I mean, how much are you looking forward to working with almost the real Bentancur after last year, sort of getting back to that fitness?
Yeah, Rodri, obviously, as you said, I think it's, last year was very much a bit like our season. We had a lot of players very similar, where it was very stop-start at times. He looked really good, sort of got some rhythm, then something would happen, whether it was an injury or some other disruption. So I think for him and the other guys, he obviously went away with Uruguay and sort of got game time there. And I think in terms of his mindset, he was really, I think he's in a much better place of knowing that, knock on wood, like you said, from an injury perspective, he's free of that. He's 12 months down the track after a significant injury, which always takes a bit of time. And as I said, it's been great to have him back, part of the group. And, he came on, obviously, in the second half last week, and I thought he looked really good, but he's looked good in training. And, hopefully that's where some of our improvement comes from. Guys who last year, for one reason or another, just couldn't get sort of to the levels we know they can. And if we can do that with guys like him and the ones who sort of had good seasons last year, we can improve them as well. That improvement I'm looking for and I'm talking about will be there.
Okay, we'll end the broadcast section there. We'll move on to the Embargoed section at 7:30 p.m. on Sunday. Tom?
Just one on, kind of on Basuma, but on nitrous oxide specifically. It's something that was made illegal last year, but he's definitely not the first and probably won't be the last player to take it. How much of a problem is it, that specific thing in football, and how much more can clubs be doing to warn players? Because the fact that he wasn't, that he filmed himself is quite a unique circumstance where he clearly didn't realise the consequences of his action. I mean, look at how prevalent it is. I don't know, mate, because it's a world away from my kind of life. But I think the best way is just awareness and education. I think and understanding the ramifications of making those kind of decisions. Because, like I said, there's the personal ramifications. Because, like I said, it's illegal. So there's a significant price to pay there. And I'm sure, Biss is like every other human being. He's got people in his life who love him, parents, and they certainly wouldn't want to see that. And then there's the professional responsibility of, the image of the game. Not the image, but the example you set as a professional footballer, because, there are so many people that follow the Premier League, and we're all in a pretty privileged position, and we get well rewarded for that. But there is a responsibility in kind of what you do, and hopefully with like I said, education and awareness that there's a reason it's illegal. It's not because somebody just thought, let's just ban this for no particular reason. There's some science behind why it is. So, like I said, he's made a poor choice. But within that context, like I said, we all make mistakes. There should always be an opportunity there for rehabilitation and redemption for every human being, including footballers. And that's up to Biss now. And you were talking about Bentancur a second ago, how it's 12 months on since his injury. Often with these injuries, it takes a while to get back to him. James Maddison obviously had that injury back in November. Came back, it wasn't a massively long time out, but it's taken a while to catch that form. If anything, he hasn't quite got to that level. He missed out on the English squad. What kind of mindset has he been in since you started working with him again since pre-season? Where do you see his game?
Yeah, look, like even though it wasn't a significant injury in terms of time out, it still was significant in that, for matters it set him back a fair bit. And then he never, sort of, even when he came back, he had a couple of other smaller disruptions. And I think when he came back into the team, we were kind of also struggling because, which kind of doesn't help him in terms of the kind of player he is, As you said, he had a disappointment with the Euros, obviously, but he's working hard at pre-season. The good thing is he's fit and he's laid himself a good opportunity now, foundation, to have another strong season. The disappointments of, say, missing Euros, well, that's part of being a footballer. We take all the good stuff, but you have setbacks. It's how you react to those, and I'm sure he'll want to sort of go out there and get himself back into the international frame, but get back playing for England. But again, that's up to him to kind of find the right way to use that as a motivation. If you just sort of deflect it or at any point kind of say, had nothing to do with me, then you miss an opportunity, I think, to kind of improve. And I've sensed in Matt as he's come back, he's really determined to have a big season, and hopefully that gets him back into the England frame. But more importantly for us, hopefully it gets him back to the form we know he can have.
Just one final question about Jed Spence. He's someone that's caught the eye during pre-season. He was at Forest on loan from Middlesbrough before he signed for Spurs. One of his big moments, I think, was scoring against Leicester in the FA Cup. Hasn't worked out for him so far here, but with Destiny only just coming back, I know you tried Jed in pre-season, a bit left back, potentially a possibility that he could be involved. Can you talk to us a bit about his story during the pre-season?
Yeah, look, again, it's one of those things where, when we start pre-season, we obviously had quite a few guys who were out on loan last year, and again, part of me is always, we need to keep sort of evolving this squad, and the guys go out on loan for a reason. Have they come back? Are they a better fit? Are they sort of part of what we're doing? And with Jed, I just sort of kind of had an open mind. You kind of know. I certainly think that the kind of characteristics he has as a player certainly would fit into our football. It's more about then, he obviously didn't fit last year. Will he fit this year? And he's had a good pre-season. He's trained really well. He seems to fit in the group really well. And I think, I don't think left back is his obvious position. I think he's more of a right fullback. But the fact that he can play out on the left, I think, again, gives us some good options, into the season where, like I said, with European football, we're going to have more challenges. And it was quite obvious last year that, whenever we had, disruptions in terms of injuries or suspensions, our performance dropped a fair bit. So we're trying to narrow that gap, and hopefully having Jed as part of that squad then, allows us to do that. And like I said, he's training well. He's available for Monday, and I'll make those decisions kind of after the weekend.
Just on him, there have been question marks about his attitude in the past, but has that not been an issue at all?
Well, you would know about it if it was. He probably wouldn't be part of it if he was. But again, that's probably something that, like I said, that whether that was right or wrong, as a person, as a player, Jed's taken responsibility for that and not allowed that to be a part of the conversation this pre-season, for me anyway, or the coaches. We've had absolutely zero issues with his attitude. Like I said, he's trained really well, he's fit in with the group really well. So, that's on him. He's the one that hasn't allowed it to become an issue.
Ed?
Hi, Ange.
Good, bud.
Just wanted to ask you about Dom Solanke. How much of a role did you have in the signing of him, and was there a particular game or performance last season that you thought, this is the guy for me?
Look, my role in all the signings is pretty small. I just make the decision, mate. So I'm the one that says yes or no. So they're here because I want them here, and Dom certainly fits that boat. And no, there wasn't one performance. I mean, I thought he did well against us, and he gave us some problems, and gave us some real problems that a lot of strikers in the league maybe didn't give us problems in that. His mobility and his movement was, I thought, really impressive. There's no secret we love to press, and he's got a great work ethic, and he scores goals. He's a presence, and he scores different types of goals. I think the way we play suits us, and I really like where he was in his career. Like I said, I'm a big one on kind of understanding a person and the person's motivation, and he obviously was an outstanding young player. Got to some big clubs, but never worked out for him. And I've spoken about this already in this press conference. Is what do you do in that kind of scenario? Do you kind of just think, well, it's never going to happen for me, or do you work your way back? And he's he's done remarkably well to get himself back to a position where, you know, he scored 19 goals in the Premier League last year, which we all know is a fair feat, and he's got himself back to a big club. So, you know, I love that aspect because I know I've got the right kind of mentality. So it was a whole range of things that kind of, you know, I was really keen to bring him in. I think it was just sometimes these things are about timing, and I thought it was a good time for him, but also a good time for us to bring in because we have a really young group, and you know he's one that's proven at Premier League level, and I think he improves us.
And it must be exciting for the rest of the team as well to, you know, potentially, obviously Son was playing through the middle quite a lot last year. Now he can go and play on the left hand side. It must be exciting for you to unlock that potential.
Yeah, look, I definitely think, you know, as much as the injuries at the back cost us last year, and they did cost us, that was mainly because we lost, you know, sort of 3/4 of our back line for a big chunk of the time. I still felt it was up front we were most short, you know, and it's still the area that I think we need to improve the most. And a lot of that was because, you know, Richie, when he played, was outstanding, but he had a lot of injuries last year. So then we had to play sort of, you know, Sonny inside. And, you know, it was Brennan's first year at the club. He's only 22, his first year at a big club, and I still think he did well. Then we had to sign sort of Timo. We lost Perisic and Solomon first or second round, so we were down 2 wingers. So it was, I really felt it was the area we needed to bulk up this off season, and you know, just going to the season with having Dom and Richie there, like 2 real good presence in that striking position. And like I said, allowing Sonny, you know, doesn't mean Sonny can't play through the middle during the year, but I think we look a much better team when he's out wide on the left. So yeah, that's the exciting bit that I think. As I said, we're looking for improvement. Well, we needed to improve in the front third. I think we have with bringing Dom in.
Yeah. Just a couple more on James Maddison, if I may. Just how much of it do you feel is a confidence player that when he's on, he's on? And if you have to sit him down either last season after getting left out of the Euro squad or the start of this season, just to help him get back to those levels?
No, look, I haven't sat down with him, but you know, I don't know what confidence player really means. I think as a player, you've got to be on it all the time, mate. You know, you can't pick and choose. You know, if you're physically fit and you get selected, you should be buzzing. You know, and I don't think, you know, with Matters, he certainly doesn't lack self-belief. He knows he can be a real dominant player, and I just think with Matters, a lot of it last year for us was just the physical element where, you know, when he wasn't 100% fit, then he couldn't really perform at the levels he wanted to. And like I said, even if when he came back from injury, I never felt like he reached those physical levels he had earlier in the year. So that's a real key for him. You know, if he's training really well and kind of in good physical condition, then I think his game flows from that. So, yeah, that's what we're trying to do with him. We've tried to give him a really strong pre-season, try and push him in a physical way where I think when he feels good about that, then the rest of it kind of goes from there rather than sort of him lacking any confidence or self-belief.
So how much of a difference do you feel when he's playing well, he makes not just to the squad, and not just in results, but like even the buzz around the squad and even the buzz around Tottenham Stadium when he's playing well?
Yeah, look, you know, that's the reason we signed him. You know, he's an exciting player when the ball's at his feet. He's one of those, you know, creative types, and you know, for most people, that's what rocks their boat. Others love a big tackle and, you know, a great save, but you know, he's definitely a player who can get punters off their seats, and I think the players feed off that as well. So yeah, it's important for us that he's playing at his best. I think he makes us a better team and a more dangerous team, and hopefully that's what we see.
Dan, and then finish with John, please.
Hi, Ange.
Hey, Dan.
I think I'm right in saying you've never failed to win the title in your second season at a club.
That's correct, mate.
And sometimes, for instance, Yokohama, there's been a really big jump from where you were in the table. Can we expect that kind of big jump this season, or is this a slower burn?
Don't know.
What do you expect? What do you hope?
I expect what I expect all the time, mate. To do my job and see what that brings, but I'd suggest it's not by accident. So we'll improve and see where that takes us.
And you spoke in May about feeling like a majority of the squad and staff still weren't true believers. I think you said the sign of true belief is if I don't come to the training ground, they're still doing the same things. I mean, where are you with that? Did you feel that everyone's kind of more on board than they were?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're paraphrasing me a little bit, but I think what the end of last year showed that we were still not rock solid in kind of having a real belief in what we're trying to do, and that's only natural because, like I said, and it's not unusual, as you've mentioned, in my first year, where it takes time for these things to become truly embedded, and you've got to go through some tough times to kind of reveal those things, because unless you go through the tough times, how do you really know? But it's not like I never felt like the group were totally all in on what we were trying to do. It's just that it's still up to me to lead them through that, and I still think we're in that phase. I certainly don't feel like everything's going to sort of, not that it ever runs smoothly, you still want your hands all over it, but I've still got to be the sort of major driver in kind of becoming the team we want to, but that's okay, and that's, like I said, part of that process. But I certainly feel like I said before, we're better prepared. The players are better sort of prepared in even sort of mentally into knowing what we're going to have to tackle this year and how we're going to tackle it, more importantly, if we do go through some difficult times, which invariably we will, because every team does. And hopefully going through what we did last year means that we don't have such a huge disparity of our best and our worst.
Finish with John, please.
Just go back to clarify Bazuma, if I can. You've said he's internally suspended for Leicester. Is that the end of it after that? Or is he indefinitely suspended until you bring him back?
No, like that's the sanction of the club. But like I said, irrespective of that sanction, they're still, allowing Biss the opportunity to, understand the poor decision he made and the ramifications of that, and then I'll deal with that as we move along. So, but in terms of the club sanction, the club sanction was 1 game suspended.
Do you hear what the club expect there to be criminal charges?
Mate, it's not my area, mate. And I wouldn't even bother having a discussion around that, because that's totally out of my control and external to kind of what like I said, I deal with the person, I deal with the player. I deal with what's in front of me, and we've dealt with it, I think, in the best way I feel you need to deal with these things. And from here on in now, it's about trying to help him both as a person and as a footballer make better decisions.
It's a really off-the-wall thing, isn't it, from a football manager who's thinking about starting the Premier League thing. How do you, as a manager, come to a decision to this? How much brain power did you have to divert to this?
You'd be surprised what you need to deal with as a manager, mate. I keep saying, I sat here last year, this exact press conference, knowing that Harry was leaving, mate. I didn't break down. I wasn't in tears. I was okay. I had to go out there and train. It's part of a manager's life, right? And you kind of know with experience that, you need to sort of find ways to deal with these things so that it doesn't impact too much of anything else that's going on, because it's unfair to everyone else, because my responsibility lies within the whole organisation, and you kind of get used to that unexpected things will happen. So it's important you deal with them, I think, in the best way you possibly can with all the information you have, so I'll make decisions accordingly. And then just move on really quickly to what's really important. And what's really important is we've got a game Monday night, and for our supporters in our club, I'm going to make sure my sort of headspace is getting this team ready for that.
Just finally, back to Maddison. He only scored 4 goals last season. Is that an obvious way he could improve his position and help himself?
Yeah, to a certain extent, but again, it's more about the team hitting the heights we need to on a consistent basis. Now, whether that includes him scoring goals or him creating, obviously he's a creative player, so the more goals and the more assists he gets, I guess the more effective we are in that. But that's not the ultimate measure. The ultimate measure is us as a team. That's what we're going to get measured by, not within the individuals contribution within that. So if Matters isn't scoring, but we're winning and scoring goals and flying, then he's contributing in other ways.
That has been part of his game.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's something that I'm sure, as I said, he stays fit and plays the football he can, particularly in our team. I'm sure he'll be a big contributor in that area.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.